Okay, welcome back to video 10, all prophecy and context. We're at Matthew 24:15, and this refers to Daniel. Actually, I have two verses that are connected in my quote in my Bible, and I've looked at some others do the same thing, 9:27 and 12:17. So let's just look at that. Of course, 24:15 kind of starts, basically it says the fate of Jerusalem, so it's prophecy about Jerusalem, but this is an end time prophecy. I know it starts out, won't be a stone otherwise left upon a stone, so that happened. Okay, so that was a short-term prophecy, near future. Then it says afterwards, when he was resting on Mount Olives. Okay, so then he went to his disciples, or his disciples approached him privately, asking him, well, tell us when this will be. What's the signal of your presence in the completion of this age? Well, they're actually, what he's telling them then, this is about when he's going to return. This is actually about the second coming. This isn't about the destruction, the near future prophecy that he just gave them about the temple being. This is about the completion of all the things that he's been teaching them up to that point, and he's also been teaching them about the second coming somewhat. So this now he's switching to the second coming. He says, take care and none may deceive you. Many will come in my name, calling themselves the Messiah, and lead many astray. Or maybe that they have a message from Christ and they're teaching, well, we're going to see that, we're going to get this idea. Maybe it just doesn't mean just that claiming that they're in the Messiah, but they have a message from the Messiah. Now we're going to see that. It's going to be in the next quote, in Zechariah, which is right after this. So maybe that's actually what it means, because they lead many astray, and we're going to see that in Zechariah. Okay. Then you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Attend and fear not. The end is not yet. Well, wait a minute. Okay, so the end. So he's talking about the end before he returns. This is second coming, right? Nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, famines, plagues, earthquakes. This is second coming. All these will begin. They will deliver you to tribulation period, and will murder you. That's what happens in the tribulation period, the murder of the holy people. They don't fly away, they get killed. Okay, it's not what preachers are teaching. Preachers are teaching you're going to fly away, but that's not what he says right here. He says, deliver you to tribulation, and they will murder you, which is exactly what Revelation's about the house of God being judged. Most of the people are murdered, or some actually make it into captivity, and a few live through the captivity. Okay, you'll be hated by all the heathens through my name. Yeah, you'll be hated because you've been preaching incorrectly, and you haven't been, you're saying that you're a Christian, but you're not actually following his law. You're not being protected by God the way you think you will be, because you're not doing the simple things that he asked you to do, told you to do, commanded you to do. Okay, many will abandon it and betray one another, hate one another. Yes. Well, they hate each other and abandon it, because once they start being killed, then they say, well, we thought we were going to miss all this. We thought we were going to miss the tribulation. We were going to be raptured away. Now they're just being killed off. Well, now, obviously, the preachers didn't know what they were talking about. They were teaching a false doctrine, and they've heard this doctrine for the last 100 years, so they think that Jesus must be right. Now they see that it's wrong. What they've been taught was wrong. Okay. Many false prophets will make their appearance, and multitudes be misled. Yeah, false prophets think preachers that are not teaching in context. And through the abounding lawlessness, sympathy for the many will be children. Yeah, well, sure. Whoever holds out to the end will be saved. In other words, if you stick with Christ, the message of Christ, that's the resurrection will come to those that teach Christ, follow his law, repent. So stick with that. Don't leave Christianity and think that, oh, well, because of all these things happen which we didn't expect. Some will be expecting. Some will stick with the message of Christ until they die. And that's what he's saying. Stick with what you know till you die. The good news of the kingdom shall be proclaimed throughout the whole empire as a witness to all nations. A witness, yeah. A witness to the two witnesses, right? The two nations, the two empires that work together. That's the two witnesses in Revelation. Okay? Manasseh and Ephraim, the one great Christian nation, and the Commonwealth of Christian Nations, which we know of as the USA and the UK Commonwealth. Then the end will come. So then that's when you'll have this tribulation. Well, we've already talked about the tribulation. He's already mentioned it. Tribulation period, mostly were killed, then the end will come. Yeah, because it's only a 7-year period, which we've already started right back in December 2017, right? Right there in Revelation chapter 12. All right, so that's what it's talking about. When, therefore, you shall see the desolating beast foretold through the prophet Daniel. Now, some people see this and think, oh, this abomination of desolation, and however it says it in your Bible, it's probably that term, foretold through Daniel, take up his position on holy ground. So, yeah, holy ground. Well, what is the holy ground? Let the reader comprehend. All right. Then let those in Judea fly to the hills. He is upon his balcony. Okay, those in Judea. So they're saying, oh, well, that's got to be in Jerusalem, right? All right. But do the Jews for Christ, from the time that Christ was here to today, where are the Jews for Christ? Well, they're not in Jerusalem. The Jews against Christ are the ones in Jerusalem. The Jews for Christ are in these two nations, this empire it mentioned just about. That's where they are. They went out, came across, founded the country, United States, founded these countries in the UK Commonwealths, which are all being attacked today. Right? They're being invaded. Their governments, why would their governments, including our government, invade your country with people from other nations and just bring them in and make citizens out of them, and then most of them don't have jobs, very few can get a job, so the government's taking your money and giving it to them. Now, why would he do that? Right? You're being attacked. All right? And who's attacking you? Well, this desolating beast. But when he takes up his position on holy ground, that's when you enter. Of course, it just told you the tribulation period, and it just told you what's being done. Well, the Christian people are being murdered. It just told you that. Okay. So, where are they being murdered? On holy ground. In other words, nations were founded on Christianity, but now you've lost your salt. So, what does it say about the salt? When the salt loses its flavor, it's trampled underfoot. It's the same context. That's what's going on. You had the salt when you founded your nation. Now it's lost its flavor. Okay. Now your government, the people running it, are all controlled by this abomination of desolation. Same thing happened. Okay, same thing happened before. The people running your nation lose their salt. Eventually your nation's judged because you're just not doing enough following his law and teaching the message of Christ that you started out doing initially, but now you're not. So then when you're not, he comes in and he judges your nation. That's the way it happens. So how does he judge your nation? How did he do it before? He empowered Assyria, brought them in, attacked the house of Israel, took them into captivity. A bunch of people died, some were in captivity, blah, blah, blah. Same thing with Babylon. He empowered Babylon, and then when they had power, of course, was Christ behind them. Just read it. Even the kings understood that they were empowered by God to attack Israel. No one could have attacked Israel back then. I mean, it was impossible to attack Israel unless Christ allowed it. Well, he not only allowed it when he was ready to destroy these nations of his people and send them into captivity as punishment. Well, that's what he did. He went out in power. Same thing is going to happen here at the end time. Same thing. Now we're going to go look. Let the reader, all right, fly to the hills. So this is modern day Jews for Christ flying to the hills in modern day Judea, which is where the Jews for Christ of today are. All right? Yeah, verse 19. Well, okay, I hope it doesn't happen there, blah, blah, blah. For there shall then be widespread affliction. Yes. Such has not been known since the beginning of the world till now. Exactly. So, widespread destruction, the country of the Jews for Christ, the empire. That's who's being attacked. That's what it says. All right? And if those times are not cut short, no man will be saved, but for the sake of the chosen ones, those times will be short. The chosen ones, then, are these people right back here who are being murdered in the tribulation period in verse 9. All right? Who are on holy ground, Jews for Christ. All right? If anybody should say, look, the Messiah's here or there, don't believe it. Yeah, for many false messiahs and false prophets will make their appearance, great and terrible, mislead, if possible, even the chosen. All right, so it shouldn't be possible to mislead the chosen if they're paying attention to all this and study it, because they're searching out for truth, and hopefully they'll find it. That's why I say everybody should just take my videos and give them to other people, and hopefully they can see this is in context and understand it. I forewarn you, if they say go look, he's here or there, blah, blah, blah. For as lightning burst out with a flash from east to west, in like manner will the presence of Son of the Man be. Yes, well, okay, so Son of Man, when he comes back, everybody will see like a lightning from end to end of the earth. So no one's going to miss that. Where the corpses are there, the vultures will assemble. Yeah. But immediately after the tribulation, so immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be dark and the moon will fail to give her light, stars fall from the sky. Stars falling from the sky are the same stars that you see in Revelation, what is it, 8:6, starts at 8:6, 8:7, something there. Okay, that's where it starts. The stars falling from the sky, nuclear weapons, that's how you'll be attacked, destroy most of our country and others. So it'll be a World War III, nuclear war. Sun will be darkened because of all the dust and stuff in your atmosphere. The moon fail, same reason. Stars fall from the sky. Power of the heavens will be shaken. Yes. You'll feel it. Everybody will feel it. Then will appear the signal of the Son of Man in the sky. The signal was the lightning flash from end to end. All the tribes of the earth shall mourn. That's Revelation. When they see the Son of Man coming upon the clouds of heaven, that's Revelation 1:7. Okay? Tribes, it's the 12 tribes that are mourning, the people that were expecting the return of Christ. They're mourning because their countries were just judged, these two empires of holy people, so on and so forth, judged. Their countries were destroyed. That's not what they expected. That's not what the pastors told them, but we're going to get to that in Zechariah. All right. All the tribes mourn when they see the Son of Man coming upon the clouds of heaven, power and full rectification. That's to redeem the 12 tribes. He'll send out his messengers, angels, with a loud, powerful bugle. So you'll see the angels end to end, okay, like lightning. They will collect his chosen for the four winds from the end to the end of the heavens, which means all four corners of the earth, which is mentioned before. Just a video back or two about Abraham, Isaac, Jacob will all come into the kingdom of heaven. Yes, from the four corners. Right. Okay. So there you go. So that's the context of 24:15. Now, that really goes on. Geez, I guess you just have to go all the way to the end of the end of 24, because at the end it says, "Then there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth," and that's one of the last things you read in Revelation. So in reality, we should just go on, I guess. Learn from the lesson of the fig tree when its branches become soft You recognize that summer is near. In other words, you'll recognize things when you see these events happen. And you see your country attacked, you should recognize what's getting ready to happen. Well, your country's being attacked. A lot of people are expecting World War III. They're expecting the return of Christ, and they're seeing all these events. Okay, well, yeah, because you should be recognizing all this stuff happened, just as it says. Okay, I tell you, indeed, this present generation shall not pass away until all these arrive. Now, generation. All right, there's three ways of looking at generation. Everybody I've seen that reads that thing, oh, this private generation is the people standing in front of them, so therefore it happened. No. Look up the word generation again. Generation is used in three contexts. It can mean present generation. It can mean your forefathers, generation of your forefathers, and it can mean generations into the future as is posterity. It has those three uses depending on how it's used. It does not have to mean the people standing in front of them. What it's saying there is present generation. In other words, your posterity will not pass away. That's what it's talking about. Of course, people read that differently, and you got to remember this is a translation. So did they translate that right? Well, if they translate it right, maybe they would have put posterity down there instead of generation. But if you look at how generation is used, go back to all the uses of generation in Scripture and look at the context of how the word generation is used. All right, do a topical on that. Then when you get to here, you can say, oh, well, okay, so if it said it one way, it meant our previous generation. It said it another way, it meant the current generation. It said it the other way, it meant our posterity, the future, the end of our generations, which would mean our posterity. At the end of your posterity won't pass away. That could be the three possible contexts. So you have to go look at this and figure out what it's talking about. How do we know it means your posterity? How do we know it means that? Well, wait a minute. He's talking to people, and what does he tell you? Take care that none may deceive you, for many will come in my name, asserting I am the Messiah. Then you will hear roars and rumors of wars, nation. Wait a minute. Okay, then they'll deliver you up to tribulation. Well, all right, then that tribulation period he's talking about would have happened to the people he was standing in front of. So all of this would have had, everything it mentions there. The good news of the kingdom would have been proclaimed. The end will have come. Tribulation period, the desolating beast. So all of this has to happen. And people will say, well, okay, but, well, okay. So then this desolation that's been more than since the beginning of the world to that time would have happened. Okay. False messiahs, well, okay, so maybe all that stuff happened. But then, as lightning burst out with a flash, east, west, in like manner with the presence of the Son of Man. So the Son of Man would have come back with lightning bursting out from end to end. After the tribulation period, the sun would have been darkened, the stars fell from the sky, the power of the heavens were shaken. That will appear the signal of the Son of Man in the sky. So the signal of the Son of Man in the sky would have had to happen. All the tribes would have mourned. Oh, wait a minute. All 12 tribes, right? All 12 tribes then would have seen the Son of Man coming then at the destruction of the temple, right? Is that what they're saying? So Christ would have come right then. Or in that period. With the power and the full rectification. So all 12 tribes would have been redeemed and all that would have happened. So we wouldn't be sitting here waiting for the return of Christ, because the return of Christ then already happened. All the chosen were collected on earth at that time. So all that's happened, according to some people's logic. Alright. Let's go on. Because it says present generation. So it all had to happen. Alright. Well, let's just go on then. Present generation. That was 34. So, shall not pass away until all is arrived. The heaven and the earth may fade away. My declarations will never pass. And what were the declarations about the return of Christ? Well, okay, wait a minute. That was those prophecies. That was Hebrews 8:8, Ezekiel 37. Oh, all 12 tribes coming back together under Christ. That's Jeremiah chapter 30, 31, 32, 33, and how many others, all about the return of Christ. So the second return of Christ then already happened. All 12 tribes will all come together under Christ and have been under Christ for the last 2,000 years, even though we can't look around and see that because they're all gone, I guess. So we're just the ones left behind then. So we're the ones left behind. We missed it. Okay. About the exact time, however, and the hour, no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father alone. It's 36. And in the days of Noah, so will the appearance of the Son of Man. Okay. So the appearance of the Son of Man happened. Christ has already returned. For as they were, blah, blah, blah. So will be the appearing of the Son of Man. So that's already happened. 2 men are in the field, blah, blah, blah. On account of this, be ready, because it may be that the Son of Man will appear at a time you do not expect. So that must have already happened then. So we're waiting on the second return of Christ, but that's already happened, according to some people. So, who then is the faithful and prudent servant, who the master and placer of his household? Happy will be that servant, the master find him so. All that's happened. I'll tell you, indeed, he'll appoint over him. So all these people that were faithful have already been appointed. Alright, well that was another parable from earlier on. That's business, social. Then there'll be weeping, gnashing of teeth. So all that's already happened. Then the kingdom of heaven. So then he goes on about the kingdom of heaven. So the kingdom of heaven would have had to have all happened at the destruction of the temple. Or well, and then you can go up about the reckoning day. So he goes up, there's more of it. So then all these other things, if that was already happened, then all these other things that it talks about would have had to have happened already. So everything's already been fulfilled. So that's it. All the tribulations coming already happened that we expect to be coming, in other words. Okay. So that's the way to look at it. So let's go back then and look at Daniel and 27. And, they think, well, okay. So Daniel 9:27 and 12. All right, well, I'm on 12:17. Did I say 12:17? No. No, was it 12:17? 12. That's it, right? 12:11. 12:11. It's not 12:17. Yeah, 12:11. That's not. All right. Well, since I'm sitting here, I'm just going to change that. Well, I got some misprints, but sometimes I just have to fix that. All right, 12:11. All right, so when you go to 12:11, it talks about perpetual sacrifice being taken away and the desolating. Mine says desolating brute. Some say abomination of desolation. Same idea. And then it talks about after this happens, there'll be this 1,290 days. Then it talks about the 1,335 day periods. But you go until that period, for you shall rest and stand in your place at the end of times. Well, let's clearly say this happens at the end. And it mentioned before that it would happen at the end. So some people then would have to say, all right, well, the end has already happened. Christ has already turned. Apparently all the ones that are approved are all up in heaven now, and I'm not sure what we're doing down here, or what we're waiting on, or what we're thinking. We're just hanging out, I guess. All right, because the end has already happened. All right, but now I've taught all this in Daniel, so you can go look at and it's very difficult teaching. But point I was trying to make about the abomination of desolation. Let's just go back and look at 9:27 for a second. Let's just make this point. Because when you look at this period here, 9:24, 70 weeks are fixed upon your people, and that's weeks of years, I believe, 490 years. So I've already taught all this, and you can look at my ones on Daniel. Vision, prophecy, and the Messiah, the holiest of Israel. So comprehend from issue the order, restore, and rebuild Jerusalem until the Messiah arrives. Okay, so Messiah was arriving 490 years after the destruction or whatever, and I believe that was already happened. It would be restored and built with streets and mode, times of distress, and all that's happened. After 62 weeks, the Messiah would be slain, and none support him, so I believe all that's happened. So I believe that was a prophecy about the coming Messiah and the 490 years and all that, which already happened. After that, the city and sanctuary would be desolated by a dominating people, and that would be the Romans, in other words. But its end will be a torrent, its abolition by war. Desolation is affixed, but the covenant will be guarded in me for a week, and in the middle of the week he will make the sacrifice and offering to cease, and the abomination of desolation will desolate to the extreme, but at last a wound will be given to the desolators. So then, and then a lot of this then would be, of course, prophecy fulfilled. So, like I said, I've already taught all that, and I'm thinking that what this is this is merely Satan in control of these kingdoms. And the reason I say that is because when you go back to Daniel chapter 7, well, this obviously connects to Revelation. These empires in here connect right up to the beginning of Revelation chapter 13. You'll notice these empires, and I've already went through all that in great detail, about the 10 horns and the three empires, the lion, the leopard, the bear, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and those are the same ones in Revelation. And then so it was the first, actually the first empire, or beast. These are called beasts in Revelation. So the beasts in Revelation are these empires. That's what they're called. And so this first empire, actually, which I taught was the two witnesses were the ones that conquered the others, but then they were conquered. And it says right there at the beginning of Revelation chapter 13, it's Satan, right, or the dragon, that's Satan, is in control of the beast. Well, sure, he's the one running things. Remember what he said to Christ right there at the beginning of Matthew. What did he say to Christ in chapter 4 there? He offered Christ control of all the kingdoms around. Well, that's what he does. He finds someone who has, he can put in that position. He offers them control of the kingdoms, and of course, they accept. Christ was the only one that didn't accept control of the kingdoms. All right. Well, if I said before, if Satan didn't have the ability or the authority to offer that to Christ, then Christ would have attacked him on that point. He wouldn't have told him, well, you got to follow God's law. He would just said, you don't have the authority. He would have gone to the base argument. The base argument is telling Satan, well, you don't have authority to do that. If that was true. Well, he didn't say that. So, he recognized that Satan was in control of things, but obviously not unless God gives it to him. It's like with Job. He only allowed him to do what he allowed him to do, and that was it. Why? Because Job was interested in the message of God and was doing the right things and praying and so on. It wasn't that Job understood everything, but at the end, Job reckoned everything. Christ approved of him and told his friends, well, you didn't reckon right, but Job did. Because Job reckoned that I existed. Yes. Okay. So Job was trying to do the right thing the best he could, and apparently did a pretty good job of it. Okay, even if he spoke out of turn. All right. But he wasn't judged for that. He was blessed. All right. Same thing we're talking about here, Daniel. So if you just go through Daniel and see what what it shows here. Well, here it's talking about these three empires. So then, if that previous prophecy already happened, then all of this has already happened. Because if you look at this, we've already been through 7, of course. Well, you get to 7 and 9, and continue watching until the thrones were flung down. The splendor of time sets, talking about either Christ or God, either way you want to look at it. His robes clear like snow, the hair of his head was like clean wool, his throne was flames of fire. Wheels flashing fire. Okay, that's what you read in Ezekiel. It's wheels. Okay. River of fire proceedeth, flame before him, thousands, thousands. So here's all your servants, all your angels from heaven, crowds of crowds stood before him, standing before the throne. We know it's talking about God and Christ, right? He's set to judge. Well, I would say that's Christ then. And the records were open. Well, the records aren't open until Judgment Day. So apparently Judgment Day has already happened. If you go by what these other people think. All right, well, maybe, I don't think it has. All right, so I'm saying we're still waiting on this, and I'm saying that other text we read there in Matthew is about second coming of Christ, which hasn't happened. Otherwise, all this has happened. All right? So, otherwise, you'd have to say Judgment Day already happened, because here, all right, let's look at it. I was looking for that time because of the great words that the horn spoke. So this is Christ the King. I continued looking until the beast was slain and its body destroyed, given to the burning fire. Right. But the rest of the beast had a period of dominion, and a continuance of life was given for them for a period and a time. This is what I said, that all of these empires, well, the beast was slain, so that's the beast. What's really talking about Babylon the Great there, who was in control of. So looking at 13, you just have, it keeps changing from beast number 1 to beast 2. Actually, it starts with the, you think was the first beast. The first beast is actually this fourth beast, you see. By the time you read about it in chapter 13 of Revelation, that's the fourth beast, which has already conquered these other 3 empires. So that's where Revelation 13. So that's where it starts. These beasts, or this empire, which this empire is actually these 2 witnesses, go out and attack these other 3 empires. But then you go on down to 13:7, and then they're attacked, and by who? Well, 13:7 refers back to 11:7, where you have this, it says beast, it's actually Satan in control of the beast, like it said at the beginning of 13. So this other empire at the end, under the control of Satan, comes in and finally takes over the 2 witnesses. Actually, it's already in control of the 2 witnesses. The 2 witnesses are the ones that captured and conquered these other 3 beasts, as it starts out with in Revelation 13, right? However, those beasts had a period of dominion, so it didn't completely destroy them. I continued watching and saw in the clouds of the heavens one who was like the Son of Man. We're back to Daniel 7:13. Who advanced to the splendor of time and was introduced to him, and he gave him a dominion, glory, and kingship. So I would say the Son of Man, so that's Christ being introduced, or, introduced to God in a sense. And he gave him a dominion, so he's finally given dominion by God, and glory and kingship. Okay, think the kingship, now he's the kingship over Melchizedek, right? And all nations and peoples and languages bow to him. This is the kindred people, as I just go back to my kindred people chart on Revelation, point out the kindred people are the 12 tribes in Revelation. His dominion will dominate forever and not pass away, and his empire will not be destroyed. So if all this other stuff over here in Matthew and all the stuff we just read has already happened, then we've already reached the end. So I guess we were just left behind. Everybody else is up in heaven, right? Unless it's getting ready to happen. The spirit of myself, Daniel, was pained in its sheath, and the thoughts of my head disturbed me. So I advanced to one of the bystanders, determined to inquire of him what all this meant. He replied to me and explained his purport. Those four great beasts that you've seen are four empires, right? The empires in 13:1, Revelation, which will be established. The saints of the Most High will afterwards take the empire and possess it forever and forever. Yeah, okay, the saints, that's the two witnesses. Their empire's right in the thick of it. In fact, they're the ones doing it because they're not in control of their empire. They're letting Satan take control of their empire, and that's where we're at. We have Satan controlling our empire right now. That's why no one goes to jail, even though they're committing treason. And you see it on TV, but no one goes to jail. Then I determined to ascertain about the fourth beast, why it was different from them, terrible, dreadful, teeth of iron. So, in other words, think teeth of iron, claws of brass, devouring, trampling, smashing the rest with his feet. When an empire destroys with teeth of iron, claws, devouring, trampling, smashing the rest of the empires, you do that in war. So, it has a dominating military, right? So, the dominating military is the two witnesses in 11:7 who destroy these other empires. They're the first empire, but then they become the fourth empire in reality. It doesn't say, if you read 13 again, it doesn't say the first empire. It talks about, just says the beast, or actually it says, what is it, the great beast, or I forget what the term is. I have to turn over there. Yeah. It doesn't say it's the first beast. But then over in 13:11, when it's talking about the two witnesses, it calls them lamb kingdoms. In other words, kingdoms, empires, same concept. And they're lamb kingdoms. In other words, there's the two witnesses right there. And they're speak like a, what does it say? Speak like a dragon. In other words, yeah, because they're in control of the dragon. So they speak like a dragon. In other words, we can destroy anybody and everybody because we have a better military. Okay, that's what it just said right here. They have a better military. So they destroy the other empires. Okay? And about verse 20, back to 7:20, Daniel. And about the 10 horns, so 10 horns, or horns are kings or kingdoms, either way. Kings always rule over kingdoms. So either way you want to look at it. And the one that sprung up, and 3 fell before. That horn had eyes and mouth, spoke greatly, and whose expression was more haughty than its companions. So there's Satan, more than likely, in control. So I continue watching. That horn made war with the saints. Well, there you go. So, and defeated them. Alright, so that's 13:7 in Revelation, attacking, back in 11:7, the two witnesses. So, somewhere you can expect this great horn, this king or kingdom, which may have 10 others, as it just said, 10 horns on its head. So it may have a total of 10 others. Actually, there's 11, and I explained there's 11. Let's go on. That horn made war with the saints, so there goes your two witnesses, and defeated them until the splendor of time arrived. That means until Christ arrived, which is not very far after. It's only a 7-year tribulation period. That's the middle of it. And gave judgment for the saints. So the saints are being judged. Oh, wait a minute. The horn made war with the saints, so the saints are kind of judged right there. They've just been defeated. Until the splendor of time, there's Christ arriving, giving judgment for the saints of the Most High. And then the time came for the saints to possess the empire. No, it says judgment for the saints. Sorry, okay. So judgment for the saints, that's the end of Revelation 19. Time came for the saints to possess the empire. Okay, so that's when it's handed back to them. So think first resurrection in chapter 20. Satan's put back into the pit. Satan came out of the pit in chapter 9. That's Apollyon, Abaddon. That's Satan coming out. He goes back into the pit in chapter 20. Alright? Then he said, the fourth beast is a fourth empire. It will be different from all other empires, devour all the earth. So think in war, just like it just explained, conquers the other empires in war, and thrash it and break it. And the 10 horns are 10 kingdoms that will arise, but another will arise after them. Okay, an 11th, right? It will differ from these kingdoms and will depose 3 kings. So it deposes 3, but adds 1, so that's 11, right? It will also speak in opposition to the highest and persecute the saints of the Most High. Right. Saints are being murdered, just like we just read. Saints are the 2 witnesses, just like I explained. They're conquered right there in 13:7. That's who conquers 11:7 in Revelation. But the ones in 11:7 conquered these other 3 empires in Revelation 13:1. That's how it starts. But then you have one with Satan at its head. Exactly what it says in Revelation 13. You got it's controlled by the dragon, which is Satan. All right. Persecutes the saints of the Most High, determined to change the times of the law. So, in other words, everything in your country is determined to be changed by Satan, of course. And they, the saints, will be given into the hand for periods of half period. So 3.5 years, that's the way it's read by most people. You can disagree. Then the tribunal will sit and its dominion will be terminated, destroyed, abolished completely. When the empire and the dominion and grandeur of the empire under the whole heavens will be given to the holy people. So the holy people are persecuted, they're murdered, they're judged, just like we read in Matthew. Then here they're given their empire back. So just like we read in all the prophecies, he brings all 12 tribes back together under Christ. Then he brings them back from captivity. Everybody recognizes the fact of who the 12 tribes are finally. The ones who follow God's law and teach about Christ. Wow. The remnant. His empire is an eternal empire, and all dominions will be subject to it and serve him. There is the end of these affairs. Now, if all these things in Matthew happened, then all this logically would have already happened, but it hasn't. So, the things in Matthew are about the second coming. Second coming hasn't happened. Alright? Now, well, okay, who's this person? So, obviously, that horn, it calls it a horn back there in 21. This is Satan. I think the whole idea, this is the abomination of desolation here, just like it is over there in chapter 9, just like it is in chapter 12. It's Satan, which is the same thing we have in Matthew chapter 4. You had Satan there offering whoever wants to rule and reign, I'll help you. Yes, so he offered to Christ. Who else would he offer it to? You know, you need somebody that's smart. I mean, if you're going to let them run things, you don't pick out somebody that's just completely stupid. No, you go to your smartest people, the people that can, create international banking empires that no one understands. And you control all the countries through international banking. You control countries through law and international law, because people have to follow whatever laws are written. So then you just hire people to write whatever laws you want. Your congressmen don't write any laws. What, are you kidding me? When does a congressman wrote a law? You can always tell when a congressman wrote a law. It's 1 page or 2 pages. Yeah, a bill. Well, a bill has been, these bills have got hundreds, sometimes thousands of pages. These are written by congressmen. They're not sponsored by the government, or money that come from the government. Those are law groups of lawyers. These are huge legal organizations in Atlanta or Miami or New York. All these big law firms write those laws. All that's paid. It's not your congressman. It paid all these lawyers to put 1,000-page laws together so that they can pass them. Are you kidding me? No congressman done that. Never happened. You might find one. Okay. All the rest of those are sponsored by banks and people, business, multinational corporations, right? That stuff. And they pay these congressmen buku money to get in there. And they pay all of them, not just one of them. They pay one or two to push it through Congress, and they pay off the rest of them, whatever they got to pay them to get them to pass it. They act like, oh, we're trying to keep the banks in line. No, it's the banks paying for the laws. It's the corporations paying for the laws. Paying these big law firms to write them. That's where the laws come from. All right. See Revelation 11:7. Yeah. 2 witnesses. And cross references to Mark 13:14. I think, well, all right. So we're through with Daniel chapter 7. Besides, I've already been through all that before. Mark 13:14. Let's see what it says over here. When, however, you see the mine says brutal desolator, probably says abomination of desolation, spoken of by the prophet Daniel, standing where it ought not. Yeah, it shouldn't be standing in control of our country, the 2 witnesses, right? Then those in Judea, the people that take flight of the Jews for Christ, who understand what's getting ready to happen. Otherwise, no one's leaving their home, right? But the Jews for Christ are going to understand it. Yeah. Wow. Now we're here. For in those days there'll be affliction such as never been known since the beginning of the creation, which God created until now. I think if there had been some affliction greater than any that ever happened from the beginning of time, which is also talked about in Revelation. Remember the 57-pound hail that it mentions in the end of chapter 7? Yeah. And all these things that it mentions in chapter 9, chapter 8, so on and so forth. All this vile judgments. Okay. Well, certainly all of that stuff hasn't ever already happened, because a nuclear war would certainly be much worse than anything up until today. And we all thinking about World War III and what's going to happen, and we've got nuclear weapons or nothing. Nothing. We have weapons way beyond nuclear weapons. If they shoot off nuclear weapons, that's fine. But we got much worse weapons than nuclear weapons. Golly. Just because people out here have no clue what kind of weapons we actually have. Yeah, we got weapons in space. We got all kinds of stuff that people know nothing about. You barely hear or read a peep of some of the things in the technology we have. Nuclear weapons, we might have thousands of those that could destroy the earth. We don't need a nuclear weapon. We don't even need one nuclear weapon. We can destroy the earth real easy with some of the other things we have. Just look up what's going on at CERN. C-E-R-N. Yeah, look at that. Alright, we've got lots of things. So if you read this in here, it talks about the same thing. Signs and wonders to lead astray, if possible, the elect. No, the elect, the remnant, will not be led astray. Be on your guard. I've foretold you all. Really? Okay. In those days, after that affliction, sun will be darkened, moon, stars, powers of heaven convulse, Son of Man. Then they will see the Son of Man appearing in the clouds with transcendent power and majesty. So apparently, the Son of Man's already come. The second coming would have had to have come if all this has already happened. He's sent out his messengers, his angels. All the chosen have already been collected from the 4 winds, the 4 corners of the earth, in other words. All right. Then he goes back to the fig tree, and then he says, here's the same thing. I tell you indeed that this generation shall not pass away until all this is accomplished. So, that generation would have had to be the people, I guess, living up until the destruction of the temple, right? Because that's what he was talking about, and that's what they were talking about. That was 70 years later, maybe, I don't know exactly, but he's saying the people of that period, I guess. So, destruction of the temple, then Christ would have had to come back, collect all the chosen, so all that happened. So what are we doing? I don't know if it already happened. But some people teach it's already happened. I know somebody teaches it's already happened. So, nobody knows about the day and the hour. Well, okay, so whatever. Okay, so that kind of get pretty much the same thing in Mark. I don't see anything particularly different. Now, there's some other end time stuff in here too, so whatever. But let's end because we're over our time frame. We'll come back with video 11 at 26:31, Zechariah 13:7. We'll see what Zechariah 13:7 says. Thanks.